Welcome to the Chamber's second virtual version of Business Over Breakfast. My name is Ann Knutson, and I'm the HR Director and Senior Vice President of Bank 59. I also sit on the Chamber's Board of Directors, and I am currently serving as past President of the Chamber. Our guest speaker this morning is here to give us an overview of current cyber threats and some suggestions for basic mitigation strategies to address them. Agent Byron Franz is a special agent of the Federal Bureau of Investigation and has worked national security matters for over 22 years. He currently serves on FBI's Milwaukee's Cyber Squad, where one of his responsibilities is to raise awareness of cyber and insider threats to businesses, academics, and state and local governments. He is FBI certified to conduct cyber investigations and also works with other types of investigations through the U.S. intelligence community. He holds a bachelor's in Russian and also has his law degree. So he definitely has quite the impressive background in addition to just simply saying he works for the FBI. And he holds his degrees from the University of Wisconsin-Madison. I'd like you to help me join in welcoming FBI Special Agent Byron Franz. Agent Franz, we'd like to really thank you for taking the time and sincerely from
Thanks.
me to you, really appreciate your being with us this morning.
Thank you. This is going to be a bad transition from a great speaker to a kind of a morose, slow, balding, kind of speaker. And by the way, just so you know out there that we were wearing all these until just moments before. So we are compliant. And as much as I like her, we are social distanced. I appreciate the opportunity to be here with the Oconomowoc Chamber of Commerce. As I was telling them before this all began, I am absolutely impressed with what they're doing for the community and the business community in particular. And it's shown by the vibrant kind of sense of business throughout Waukesha County and Oconomowoc specifically. But when we talk about cyber is part of everything. The gentleman who set up this whole cyber medium for me has a vibrant business doing this, and he is essential. His job is essential to every platform, every business there is, because cyber is a component of everything that we do. Our kids are using iPads and every possible virtual platform to learn, especially in this era of the coronavirus. And all these things are under attack. We often say when it comes to cyber defense, and you may be familiar with this, is that defenders have to be successful 100% of the time. Attackers only have to be successful once. And that one time can be purloined into compromising an entire company, all of their credentials, their customer lists, and everything else that's vibrantly important to them. So we have to realize this, but there's hope, because there are companies out there like the small local cybersecurity administrators and companies that provide these services here in Wisconsin, and national companies. The FBI and state and local law enforcement are part of that as well. And we all work together. But at the end of the day, you are protecting your house, and you often are protecting your business. I mean, large companies have someone called a Chief Information Security Officer, a CISO. Who's the CISO of your house? You? Your 16-year-old? I mean, the question is, what do you have? Well, you have to have something, and that's what we're going to talk about. You have to realize that when we're protecting our homes and our businesses, there are a lot of things you have to look into. First off, when you go into a hotel or anything like that, you're sharing kumbaya, a network with everybody in the hotel space right there. You notice how you log in, your Xbox, your PS4, whatever, you can see the signals out there. First off, you have to make sure you're jacking into the right signal, because criminals often hover one above the signal of the hotel or the coffee shop. You are hoping that you'll connect to their hotspot where they can grab your credentials as you're using it. So you have to be very careful for what you're using first. And once you're in there, use a VPN. They're free virtual private network applications you can download to your laptops, but they're also pay-for-use services. I'm not advocating any specific one, whether it's NordVPN, your antivirus, Norton and others, they actually provide through their antivirus suite a VPN themselves. Whatever you use, I would recommend that you use a VPN. The Primo ones, obviously they cost, but everything that's good costs a little bit of extra. So they're free applications, but use that. That way you're going dark. Someone cannot see the work you're doing and the credentials you're using when you're utilizing a VPN. If you're not familiar with it, as a business professional, consider using a virtual machine when you go online. What is a VM, you may ask? Well, for you who aren't familiar with it, there are free ones available, such as Oracle's VirtualBox and others. But what you do is essentially, you are making a screen above the screen. You know, you have your toolbar at the bottom of your, when you boot up your Windows compatible laptop or whatever. Well, this is a box above the box. In that box, which is the virtual machine, you can put in a browser like Chrome or Mozilla. And what happens is that what you click on, what you investigate in the internet through that virtual box, if you hit something bad, it is stuck in that box. That means it can't get to the hard drive in your computer that has all your priceless business information, your tax return stuff, your kids' photos, all this stuff is protected because you're stuck in this virtual world. You know, they say that everything that happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. It doesn't really, but pretty much, unlike Vegas, everything that happens in the VM pretty much stays in the VM. It's only connected to your computer by something called a hypervisor. It's really hard to get in. So the fact is, use these applications. The thing is that most people are not. Make sure you're using patching. Patching and updating of systems. That's one of the biggest vulnerabilities that people don't use. Auto update, but you also have people. People are essential at the end of the day to protect all these applications, because we've gotten so autonomous and automated, but you still need this stuff. And there is absolutely no application that is perfectly safe. People say you go to Apple or you do Windows, whatever. They're all great, but they all have problems. And whether you use one or the other, there are specific criminals that are targeting those exploits. The question is, you have to be ahead of the curve. And in this era of coronavirus, a lot of attacks have been done because people are virtually into their businesses. Attacks against Citrix VPN and others have been happening. So realize that people are trying to take it, whether it's Zoom bombing or others, people are trying to take advantage of businesses remoting in from home. And so let's get into some of the stuff from my presentation, which I actually can't see, but hopefully you will. Let's see. You got my screen going up here? Okay, can I see it? Okay, I seen all the slides. Oh, I like that. There we go. I like the other screen though. My presentation isn't as impressive as whatever he had. Okay, what you see right now is the way the attack surface in cyberspace takes place. This is something from Norse. You can go on a lot of different cybersecurity suites out there, like FireEye. You can click on FireEye threat map on Google, and you'll see something like this. You'll see attacks happening right now in progress. In this example I'm showing you, you're seeing attacks that were taking place in cyberspace during a specific moment in time. And so what do you see if you're, I'm dating myself, but you go back to war games with Matthew Broderick, Whopper supercomputer, Ali Sheedy and all that stuff. The fact is, the slide I'm showing you right now, you're seeing attacks in progress. You're seeing a virtual cyber missile landing, a flash of light taking place. But what happens in the real world? Well, right now in Oconomowoc, even though Oconomowoc's a great place to live in, it's dreary right now. It's rainy and stuff like that, preparation for winter. And well, these attacks are taking place here. They're taking place in Eau Claire, La Crosse, Racine, Kenosha, Green Bay, Milwaukee, Madison, but you can't see it because it's in cyberspace. And because of that, it doesn't get the credibility it deserves. Businesses are being hollowed out. They're losing access to priceless intellectual property. Some estimates place that the loss or hemorrhage, the bleeding of intellectual property from the United States is being over $500 billion a year. That's a net outflow of wealth from your pockets going often abroad. But who's doing that? Well, we're going to talk about that.
So what were the first things you did? How did you start hacking me?
I quickly found your Squarespace blog and had an idea. Basically what I did was created a bogus Squarespace site and sent an email to you, a phish asking you to go to this website, run this certificate installer.
And I did it, because I'm an idiot.
So once you ran that, it gave me access to your computer, and I created several fake pop-ups that looked like system pop-ups that would ask you for your credentials.
You didn't even have to have my passwords.
No, you gave them to me.
I gave them to you.
Yeah. So I stole your 1Password keychain.
And 1Password is where I store all my other passwords. So effectively by...
And your social security number and your Amex stuff and all your stock trading and bank information. I can send email to everyone in this room as you. I am you right now, if I wanted to be. If my evilness is working correctly, it should actually be taking pictures of your desktop and pictures through your webcam every 2 minutes. And I have been watching you for about 2 days now. In coffee shops, at your mom's house, on a plane. Here's you editing stuff. There's you like.
Oh my God! So
nervous.
this is literally
every 2 minutes
through my webcam.
Yeah, through this guy.
How badly could you have messed up my life?
I could have made you homeless. I could have made you homeless and penniless.
How? How would you make me homeless?
Like I have control of your digital life in its entirety. I have all your credentials. I have all your access to all your financial information, all your work information, all your personal information. I can pay people with your bank account or your Amex account. I am you. I can fully impersonate. Like, the only thing I couldn't doctor would be like your fingerprints.
This is like as bad as it gets.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, it's bad.
You know, when the guy with the IT guy with the ponytail and the goatee, I mean that's pure IT. You have to have those things often to show your cred. Maybe with a Call of Duty shirt on, a backpack with a Punisher symbol or something like that. The fact is that IT professional knows what he's talking about. And who's doing that? Well, we're gonna, the next slide is telling you. Some of the biggest cyber threats out there are China and Russia. China is usually related to over 90% of the theft of trade secrets, economic espionage cases that the FBI commonly investigates. That doesn't mean you should ignore Russia. When it comes down to hacking, Russia's probably got the best hackers out there. No nation has friends, only their interests at the end of the day. It's realpolitik at its worst. Real Adam Smith, Wealth of Nations type stuff. And Wealth of Nations rise and fall by their cybersecurity these days. So you have to, whether you're your home or your work, that's where it's at. That's where they're going to try to get in. And they don't need a real door to do it. When you lock your doors and windows at your house at night, you better be locking a second set of doors. Cyber doors, cyber windows, because your family will not be protected without it. And that slide I just showed you, how'd that guy get hacked? It's called credential mining. He actually voluntarily was sent something and gave away his passwords because someone tricked him. This is one of the techniques that worked on the DNC a while ago. They were sent fake Gmail reset messages. And because you're busy and you don't take the time to look at it, you click in. That's one of the most common used formats when someone tries to compromise an individual, is to fake Gmail resets, because so many people use Google and Gmail in their daily lives. So it's safe to say that if they send it, you get a little pop-up that sits there and you go, wait, I didn't realize I logged out of this. Well, it's fake often. So, but we're so busy, we're not taking the time. We have to take that time. You have to take the time to think about, we all can talk by application. They're not all equal, and you have to investigate which ones you want to use to make sure that they're totally secure, that there's good encryption. WhatsApp is a great platform, for instance, because while I'm not advocating it specifically, it has a great set of end-to-end peer-to-peer encryption. You have to think about this in email as well. When you're getting something through email, often you can get something that you didn't want, a malignant message that you click on, an attachment or a link. I would recommend that people investigate in getting an email suite that provides an add-in that's called Sandboxing. There's many different services that provide this. Proofpoint is an example of one, but there are many others. And what they do is when the message, the attachment that you need to look at, the resume that you as an HR person want to look at, but you want to look at it safely, it actually silos it temporarily while a scan is done en route. It's a little bit of a delay, but that delay can save your business's life. It's not perfect. That's why you still have to be careful about what you're doing and clicking on. That's why, in addition to sandboxing, that virtual machine is important to do, because if you clicked on something, it won't affect the rest of your business. The ransomware won't spread to everything else in your business life, which is kind of important to you, because your virtual life is your life these days. And now we're here talking about intrusion. We have to realize that when you have employees may want to benefit themselves by taking the intellectual property and customer lists that you've given them gifted access to and go into business for themselves. You also have to consider confidentiality agreements and all the other things that protect your business information that you give an employee. But you also want to make sure you have good logging to see what they do in the system. Are they taking stuff they shouldn't and accessing things they shouldn't? So you have to make sure that there's segmentation. There's a needs to know. That when you have an employee, they have the concept of least privilege should always be employed. Only what the employee needs for their job description and nothing more. You shouldn't have someone who's able, HR is usually screened out, but if you're in a company developing a product, should the person in sales be able to see the new product before it's launched? Maybe not. So the question is, what do you need access to, and make sure they only have segmented access. That way, if there's a compromise, someone doesn't get through the entire system, which is called lateral movement.
If you look up and down this
Hope you
street
can
of
hear
Manhattan,
this.
Wall Street's just around the corner, all the major banks, the stockbroking houses, have they been hacked already?
They've all been hacked. 80% of all American companies have already been hacked. And yet, most American companies spend more on their coffee budget than they do on protecting their IT systems.
Isn't that ridiculous?
Sure, they've all been hacked.
So everyone's getting hit all the time. And the question is, what do you have? Is your IT fortress safe? And if someone tells you a professional it is, they're delusional. And you'd be delusional to believe it. The fact is, there's no perfect answer to all these threats. When I went to UW, University of Wisconsin-Madison, I roomed with a bunch of engineers. These guys are probably, and women, would tell me that that the lower parts of the fortress in the physical world are more important because they're the base, the foundation of the structure. In cyberspace, granted, there are domain and system administrators. Those are the people with a password. I call it the godlike power, the God password, not to be profane, but they have access to everything. You should only have a few people in your business model that have administrator rights to everything, because that one account, if that gets hit, the whole business goes under. That's why you usually have one or two. In a large business, there are very few people with this access. Small businesses give this out to everybody, and that's a mistake. That means every single person can be hacked and everybody can destroy the business. Make sure there's one or two people or an outside professional with those level of rights. But that in general means that in the IT fortress, as opposed to the physical fortress, everybody's important. And the best thing to do outside of buying expensive software is training. And that's usually responsible of your IT security or your HR. Make sure there's good training, because at the end of the day, those are the people who are going to let the the bad person in through those cyber doors and windows. And who are these people? Well, they can be criminals in your next door. They can be the person supposedly in the basement or whatever. But too often it's outsiders called advanced persistent threats. These are outsiders outside the United States, other countries that are trying to steal the wealth of the United States to benefit themselves. China, Russia, Iran, and other countries are trying to benefit themselves by stealing the secrets, the lifeblood of US businesses. But the good thing is, whether they're advanced hackers or the people in the basement trying to steal stuff, and by the way, every one of those people, those teenagers in the basement, have access to free systems that they can use to hack you. And there are a lot of them out there. Metasploit is a well-known platform that's used out there, and it's drop-down hacking. So any teenager can load this onto their system. And the power of kids learning IT and stuff, using Linux language and stuff, the power that can be gifted to an individual from a hacking platform is vast. That's why you have to be up to speed. But the thing is, they apply physical laws. The ways that they hack are well known. The example I talk about when I talk about APTs are these guys. Real quickly, these are the Comment crew. They launched the whole focus on outsiders hacking the United States. APT number 1, as they were called by FireEye. These people hacked. Who were their targets? Well, it wasn't the Pentagon and it wasn't the White House, but it was Westinghouse, we allege. Alcoa, U.S. Steel, U.S. Steelworkers Union, and a company that they called ATI, Allegheny Technologies International, which, by the way, owns a company near where I grew up, Cudahy, Wisconsin, called Laddish. Anyone who's been downtown Cudahy, you can't miss it. Laddish is on the main drag of Packard Avenue. Right on the side, there's Laddish. It's ATI Laddish. That's part of the same company that these guys went at. So does that mean Wisconsin is ground zero? Yes. We make everything that makes the world run, whether it's Epic System software, which everybody here who's listening to this probably has your medical information on, and Epic hosting out of Verona, Wisconsin, using Windex and Ziploc from SC Johnson. The Joint Light Tactical Vehicle used by the militaries from Oshkosh Corporation. Pfizer is the backbone of the U.S. Financial services industry. Wisconsin, Wisconsin, Wisconsin. And people like this are trying to get in our business. But the good thing is we know how they do it. The number one means you get attacked is through phishing or spear phishing. Phishing is mass distributed pain. It's where someone sends an email, usually with immediacy. I mean to say this, when it's targeting the elderly and infirm, it's posing as usually a financial services entity, and it is demanding that you quickly change a password. That's because they don't want you to think about it or ask your kids whether it's a good idea to listen to this message. So take a step back and do this, and don't immediately provide credentials. I would log into your account if you're going to do anything, but don't immediately click on something that's sent to you. Do not shake the hand that's sent to you in cyberspace, because too often that hand has cyber COVID on it. So be careful. So spear phishing is where someone has actually looked at your vast and readily available platform that's out there. When I go to a business, I usually look at some of the heads and they're always surprised what I already know about them, but it's readily available on LinkedIn and Facebook and everything else that you've bombarded the internet with about yourself, all of which can be used to hurt you in the court of cyber law. Right now it's hockey season. I can find out, because kids are right on the roster right there. I can find out who the parent is, find out you work at Harley or somebody else, and send you an email saying, hey, we need parents to sign up for the hockey thing coming up this weekend. And I send you an Excel spreadsheet to sign up. That Excel is linked with something. I'm attacking the company that mom and dad works at, but it's through the kid. And I know the kid is at a hockey team somewhere. So all of these things, the imprint you give can be used against you. You have to be careful. So what you click on is important. So having these antivirus things, at the end of the day, when you sign off your computer, do the full system scan. It goes through it may take 800,000 plus files. So what? All modern antiviruses have a shut off when done thing at the bottom. So do this. Don't do the quick scan, which is 2,000 of the most readily hit files. And make sure that as a business owner and an individual, you have investigated if there's someone in the local community, these are often old strip malls, I used to say this, it used to be the Kohl's. When I grew up, there was a Kohl's food store on one side and a department store on the other and a bunch of shops in between, like a pharmaceutical place and stuff. Well, these are the places where you find great local IT professionals that hire themselves out for recommendations of what to do to harden your systems and also what to do if you get hit. They can forensically and analyze to find out what if anything you lost and what you were legally bound to tell your customers. Was there a HIPAA violation? All this, you need these IT professionals to scan your systems. So they will see whether or not someone successfully spearphished you. How does this work? Hopefully you can hear this. It's kind of quiet. So what we're going to see here is you see an IT a professional who's using her social engineering skills to attack an executive by first attacking his spouse through an application such as Facebook. She's friending her, and now she's in the friends list. She sees the kids. She can see all the things she needs to know to work out a targeting package on this guy. Because at the end of the day, she was hired out to hack him and his company, which in this thing she successfully does. She explains that she usually goes to the sales department because they volunteer lots of free information about the individual and the company in their effort to quickly sell a product. So she also, in her attack, she sets up a new domain, an email domain that mimics and closely is approximating the actual business email name. So instead of 2 L's, you see 1 L or whatever. See, this happens all the time, but remember, people are moving fast daily in cyberspace, and they don't seem to take the time to notice an I or an L or something else, a .com or a .net. All these things are used readily to attack people because, unfortunately, we're moving too fast all the time. And we get a little bit, I think, cybersecurity-wise lazy. Mitigating is important. Go to a cyber professional to get recommendations on how to do this. But the fact is, at the end of the day, there are lots of things you can do. You can harden yourself by phish testing your employees. Large companies send fake emails to see how many people are bad boys and bad girls out there and who click at it too readily. And large organizations such as Google, I've heard that you fail 3 of these tests, you're out. They can't afford somebody who keeps hemorrhaging information all the time. You want to at least, there are like 3 or more levels of these attacks. You want to at least have people capable of seeing level 1. Even in the FBI, we get these things and we have to report when we get these fake ones. Did you see it? And did you not? So the fact is, there's some recommendations I have on the screen that you can think about. And you should realize you can also open the extended header. In Outlook and other platforms, this is like a 3-step process. When you get an email, you get a to and from synopsis. You're not seeing all the cyber train stations that email traversed to get to you. IP addresses and other things will be revealed in the technical information there. This is an additional thing you can do. But it's not the only way to get attacked. You always get attacked through your browser as well. It's all 0s and 1s. There's lots of scripts that are running when you go on a website. There's an interaction that takes place. And this is a means through your browser and through the internet that a lot of attackers stay connected to a victim, such as installing something called a web shell on your business, which allows them to interact with your business through the web. This is usually techniques are called, malvertising, drive-by downloads, and there's an even more sinister way that they get on by compromising a website and waiting for victims to come in. I hate to say it, but the example would be a chamber of commerce, because they know they have a lot of people who want to click on the site. A healthcare provider. If I want to attack military people, I might want to compromise, say, a VFW post website, because I know people are going to come in there. Active duty people might click on these things. So I can't attack the military directly, but I can attack them by places that military people go. So these are the means of doing it. It's all zeros and ones, and what you have to make sure that you get those safe scan applications that you have in your antivirus. You want to make sure you use stuff like that. And once again, a virtual machine comes into play. How does this happen?
So, walk me through it, step by step.
Well, I took over the website to a bowling alley.
Brian, this is not a joke.
Okay, look. They have this research facility down the peninsula, and they're working on optical tracking cameras for driverless cars. So, just searching through social media, I get the names of a whole bunch of engineers who are working there. And as I'm looking them up, I come across this bowling league where a bunch of tech companies play every Wednesday. And this is an old school bowling alley with this really ancient website. And it has all the league info, company names, player names.
Okay, so you hacked into a bowling alley website.
Oops. Oh, I kind of stopped at the end. See if I can get that to. Are we still live? Mm-hmm. Okay, because the video isn't moving. I can't get it to.
Yeah.
There we go.
All right, explain how that works.
It's called an iframe injection attack. It's this old exploit that hits anyone that visits the website. So a week later, this guy from Opticon suddenly has my malware on his laptop. I couldn't believe it worked. It was like a joke.
What does that get you?
Well, the next day he goes to work, and he opens his laptop, and he connects to the network. And that's it. I'm in.
Yeah, but that still doesn't get you inside. I mean, they discovered it. They wiped the laptop, scanned the network.
They didn't scan the whole network. The thermostat's part of the network. It's inside the firewall. It's connected to Opticon's entire network. You can get the whole standard configuration and password online in 30 seconds. I got it off the manufacturer's website. So they scanned most of the network. They didn't scan the thermostat.
Then what?
Then I just went exploring. It was a totally flat network, no subnets or anything. I could see everything, HR files, legal documents, R&D. When I found the blueprints, I realized I could make some money off these files.
What happened after you sent the files?
Oh, then I burned everything down. I wiped everything I could find, encrypted drives and deleted backups.
Is the network down? I can't get on the database.
The servers look corrupt. We're gonna have to do a full restore from the backups.
No, the backups are encrypted.
This is deliberate.
This is a major breach.
Malware.
We gotta call
Which
the FBI.
you can do, and the FBI has a portal, www.ic3.gov, where you can put on like a one-page online, we got hacked message out to us. But at the end of the day, we go after the bad players out there, the threat actors, but we don't clean up your system. That is something that you have to investigate with a local IT professional or some other private service to do that. But the thing is, I recommend reporting us, because these people, and I'm quoting a movie from a long ago, The Terminator, where Michael Baine's character said, the Terminator, Arnold Schwarzenegger, will not stop ever till you are dead. Hackers will not stop ever because there's no motivation. Unless they're glutted with money, they're not going to stop. So the only way they can stop is by enlisting law enforcement, because there's lots of people running around the world that have been indicted by the United States. They just don't know it yet. So, and that's only because people have provided this information to us. So realize that. And when we talk that iframe injection attack, when you go on a website, you actually are getting, and many times, multiple sites technically at one, because there's a whole bunch of information that's being provided. You see these ads pop up and everything. These are all through the advent of something called iframes. So when you connect, there's lots of ways, avenues of attack, even by visiting one website. So you got to be careful. And one of the biggest things that's being used out there when people scan a system is a tool that's used by actors called Mimikatz. Mimikatz is a credential mining application that a lot of threat actors use to grab your credentials to get in. At the end of the day, if you're using a Windows-based business, they want to get into your Active Directory. Active Directory is the keys to the kingdom. That's where an IT administrator gives the person these rights, and these rights, you get access to all the individuals. But I don't even need that. As long as I take over an email account of an employee, I can pose as that employee. There's too often what happens where people get into a firm and then they ask for a wire transfer posing as the employee. So all it takes is me to get in your email and read it. So that's good hygiene, because the biggest two things we see out there is poor employee education and hygiene, and two, lack of system contingency planning. What happens when everything goes bad? Ransomware is out there. We'll go through this quickly. There's a lot of mitigation of this. Ransomware actors are extremely good at what they do, very prevalent, and they act like nation states. They're not like just dropping something out there and fire and forget type of things. They are investigating networks sometimes for weeks before they hit. Usually on a Saturday, maybe in the afternoon or in the evening when no one's around in some small companies. No one's there to correct the breach right away. So you have to realize when these comes in. How do they usually come in? Well, they come in as invoices, resumes, all kinds of documents that you need for your business to survive, for you to read. That's why it's important to have sandboxing and virtual machines so you can read these things safely. There's lots of things you can do, lots of recommendations IT professionals can have to do. Some of the things, if you get hacked, you should do is dump the memory, acquire a live response data image, copies of backups, take a snapshot and write virtual memory to disk. And you have to consider whether or not you want to pull the plug right away. This is often the case for most businesses, but sometimes an IT professional will tell you they want to investigate what the attackers have done before you kick them out, because they may have other means to get in that you don't know about. At least you know what they're doing right now. If you pull the plug too quickly, they may have another means, such as a web shell, to get back in, a second avenue. So you want to check what they're doing first sometimes before you quickly pull the plug. Beginning of the threat, you have to consider, should you have, or can you afford cyber insurance to pay for the cost of the mitigation? Cyber insurance requires you have certain cyber precautions put in the first place. So I would invite people to consider having this. You want to maintain adequate logs, ban or severely restrict USB access, and employ intrusion detection, intrusion prevention system. And you want to limit remote desktop protocol type applications, RDP, the ability of someone to remote into a business, especially in this area of COVID. This is another live thing. You have to proceed with the philosophy of assumed compromise. And make sure your logs go past more than 30 days. Because when we go to companies and say, hey, you got hit, and they say, hey, when? And I say, oh, June. And they're like, we can't look at that far back. That's a problem for you and for us. You don't know what they did in there. Utilize pen testers. White hat ethical hackers. They're made from Waukesha County Technical College and other places. These are trained professionals. They can actually, for a fee and with consent, which makes it legal, they will breach your company. They will get in. I've never seen it fail the first time. They will always find a door that you have not locked, a garage door size hole in your business. The question is, after the first hit, have you shut the garage? It's harder and harder for them to get in. You want to make it not cost effective to keep pounding away at you. They want to move on. So use penetration testers to harden your system. They'll give you recommendations of what to do.
What do you think of when I say the word hacker? Some creepy dude in a basement? Well, that's a misconception. What if I told you there's a class of hackers who don't just have social skills? They have more social intelligence than anyone you'll ever meet. David Kennedy is one of them. He's what's known as a social engineer, or a people hacker. His craft is to dupe you into doing things and sharing information you probably shouldn't.
Can I just get your credit card number?
Some use it for illegal activity. In David's case, companies pay him to find out if employees are leaving the company vulnerable. He and his team show us how it's done. Step 1, spoof his number so it looks like he's calling from inside the company, and then call tech support.
Hello, you there? Hello?
Hi, this is Ken. How may I help you?
I was wondering if you can take a look at a website I'm trying to get to. It's for a big customer thing I'm working on for Monday, and I can't seem to get to the website from my computer.
Sure. What's the website? I'll see if I can get to it.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate the help. I mean, it could be a stupid thing. I'm really stuck with computers, but so it's www.survey. That's SURVEY -pro.com.
Yeah, I got a prompt to open. I just clicked open, and I'm at the site now.
Here's what the IT guy doesn't realize. By clicking that link, he's just given David full access to his computer.
Whoa, okay, that's weird. I just hit it and it works. It seems like it's working fine now. Awesome. I don't know what you did, man, but I really appreciate the help.
Hey, no problem. That was easy.
That was it?
We're on this computer right now.
You were able to take over this guy's computer within, I would say, like, under 2 minutes.
Under 2 minutes, yeah. Under 2 minutes, took over his entire computer, and think of it as not just his computer, but it's pretty much the downfall of the entire company.
And this case,
The downfall of the entire company. So all that through the techniques that we just talked about. If you get hit, there's a lot of records we want to have you maintain. You give us or any kind of IT professional. One of the chief is if you're Windows applications, you want to have PowerShell logs. Make sure you're using at least PowerShell 5.0 on your system. This is a powerful behind the scenes way for administrators to work on your system. Most people won't use this, but hackers use it all the time, and so do your IT professionals. So you want to have good logs, VPN logs, because that's usually how they're getting in and out, and PCAP files. That PCAP files are the actual guts and bolts of packets of data that goes back and forth. So those are important. You have to up our cyber acumen so that we know what some things are. Brute forcing, and number 2 here I have, that's the sure way to get in. That's where someone uses a dictionary attack or something to try to guess passwords. You want to use 2-factor or MFA, multi-factor authentication. I can't harp on this enough. I know it's toward the end of my talk here, but it's probably the most important thing I should have mentioned at the beginning. Multi-factor authentication. That's something you know, something you are, or something you have. Something you know is always a password. Doesn't matter how many passwords, you're still one factor. The other one, something you have is a changing token, like RSA or other providers provide, where it turns over every 60 seconds. That's 1/2 of your password. You need that to happen. Or biometrics, a thumb swipe or something else, because the hacker from China just can't get that thumb on your device locally. So that's a problem. So realize that this is out there. You want to have multi-factor. I've seen very comprehensive attacks in Wisconsin fail because of MFA. And they would have been hacked to oblivion without it. So I can't say that enough. You realize that they can look up stuff at your system. We had there, one of the previous videos, they talked about the Internet of Things, IoT devices. Almost all these devices are not developed with security in mind. It's getting better, but even devices as well as like Alexa, they found problems with subdomains where you could be attacked that way. So all these devices, you have to consider, what do you have employed? What can you do? Shodan and other sites actually can show vulnerabilities. It's a service for free. It's a benefit because it can show what your company is showing on the internet. A hacker only needs a what's called a port and an IP address to attack. So you need those things. Think of ports as there's over 80,000 of them. Most ones that are well known, like are 443, which is HTTPS, and others. These are the cyber train stations that your laptop has. Think when you turn on your laptop, think about like 1 million of these things going out of it at once. Your business should only have those ports open that you need for your business, because hackers will use a port scanning application like Nmap to find out what are those tendrils going out of your business. You want to have as few of those that are going out of your business as possible, because not all those are being protected. So only have as many ports open as necessary. And remember, social engineering is alive and well. That's where somebody tries to attack one of your employees. And it can be people answering the phone. This technique is called phishing. We don't have time, but I got a really good video that you could have seen if I had had better time management. Where a woman at a conference easily compromises the host by spoofing his number and talking to the person online. She plays a video with a child crying in the background. Everybody, oh, their heart bleeds. Like, oh, she's like, oh, I'm a mom. I need to get this password changed. My kid's crying. And the person wants to help her out because she hears the child crying. And so their guard goes down a little bit and they help her out. Well, they help her out would have been for a comprehensive hack. So at the end of the day, quickly, what do? You want to do more than what the Russians, if I go back here, they went back and they bought old style metal ribbon typewriters because they're not hooked up to anything we call the internet. And they use a lost and mythical substance we call paper, which most people don't use anymore. Can you afford to do that? Probably not. You want to use your IT stuff. Develop an intrusion response plan. What are you going to do? What do you use your recovery plans? Do you have cyber insurance? Do you have an outside IT professional on retainer that will come to you speedily? Red team or a pen test your people. Employee defense in depth. Don't ever rely on one way to protect yourself. You can go online, and NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, is a free and very valuable government resource you can go on for free. They have something called the framework, which is used by almost every Fortune 500 company. And you can use it too, and it's free. Use encryption, but there's a limit to encryption. If your employees are reading something on the screen, it is decrypted for their use. So if I'm on that person's computer, I can see it. So there's always a limit to encryption. You want to use what's called application whitelisting. That means that only things that you allow will work on that system. Anything else is blacklisted. If you use complex passwords or passphrases, use at least a 16-character password. Can't emphasize this enough. 8 characters is hackable in seconds. Don't be using stuff like Badger or Marquette or anything else locally that any hacker in their right mind would use. Don't use well-known pet names or kid names. Use something with entropy. That means non-guessable. That means that, you know, that when an IT professional gives you your first password and it sucks, that's probably the best password you'll ever have, because then you'll change it so that you can remember it, and immediately you downgraded the security down to almost 0. So you want to use that. If you can't remember these, you can use password management applications like LastPass and others. And remember, use MFA. Limit admin access and only give it to certain people. If you're a business of 5 people, don't give everyone administrator rights. Enforce a strict lockout policy. Look out here, close all ports not needed for business. Change all default passwords and do not share passwords. I've had very important companies that come out and do cybersecurity. They say that to this day, that is one of their biggest problems. It's the IT security people sharing passwords. This is a big problem. Mitigate the risk of wireless keyboards and mice. They're not all equal. Remember, they're sending hopefully an encrypted handshake signal from the portable device to the computer, but that medium can be attacked. So remember, when you're using everything that makes your life easier is bad for security, unfortunately. That's the way it is. And exercise good router security. There's like 3 different IP addresses you can type in on your laptop or computer that you can get in your router. Your router is the keys to the kingdom to get to the cyber world, but you want to harden it. And you can also change what it says to the world if someone's looking at it. So get in there and change whatever administrative or default password that's on there. Consider deploying what's called a honeypot. That's a software application that actually needs to detect if somebody got in. Use sandboxing in VMs and use a port scanner to find out how many of those ports are being used by your business And remember, there's some things that have to still be updated by hand. Routers, switches, printers, they're all, you say like, don't turn off your computer because we're updating. Well, that crap doesn't get updated by itself. It actually has to be done by a person. And you probably have a printer or a copier. These have hard drives. Probably everything you ever sent to it might still be on there. Remember that for HIPAA purposes and others, which are kind of an expensive proposition, if you threw out a printer or a copier hard drive that you didn't encrypt or something like that, you're in a world of hurt. So remember, you want to go to a reputable company to make sure it's wiped or shredded. Hospitals destroy them on site. Let's see, portable devices. I would recommend remembering there's something called a man or woman in the middle attack. That's where you go into your coffee shop, we talked to it before, and you're logging into the wrong site. That's because I put a portable hotspot in the corner and you're logging in basically to my laptop where I can see everything you're doing. So if you're in a place like that, consider, unless you have really good comprehensive security, don't be doing banking in the middle of a place like that. Why are you doing it? You have to consider sensibly, why are you exposing yourself to risk? You want to make sure you do stuff financially in accessing bank things in a secure place like your home or your business. Don't be doing it at the parking lot at the, at the gas station or something like that, unless you absolutely have to. If you have to, you have to. But people aren't even asking this question. That's the problem. Disable geotagging features on your phones. This is less and less a problem. Facebook wipes this data, but when you post the many pictures of your kids and stuff, I have a wonderful video where a mom takes pictures of her little pride and joy. And from that, they were able to find out where the little girl's daycare center is and exactly where her bedroom is in the house and exactly where she usually plays in the park, which would tell a kidnapper exactly what tree to hide behind. And usually these pictures are not taken by the little girl. They're taken by grandma and grandpa and mom and dad who want to document every moment of this kid's life and put it on for all to see. One, you want to make sure that when you're putting all to see that only certain people can access it, but you can't trust that. So there's still data called metadata in these images that can be used. You want to make sure you're wiping this data. Configure your portable device so geotagging data is not on these pictures. There's a good reason for this. Going back to the Iraq war, when we were more and more into that, and our proud service people to this present day are serving there in Afghanistan and harm's way other places. But there, they actually had a situation where some Army guys in a Apache unit took pictures of their birds on the ground, their gunships on the ground, with them posing in front of it. In World War II, this isn't a problem. In the present day, it is. So they posted that image, and from that image, the people they were fighting were able to get the exact coordinates of where all those multi-million-dollar gunships were and the people who fly them were. And they fired mortars right on that location and destroyed 4 of them on the ground. So you're giving out valuable stuff. So you disable Bluetooth when not used. Use a mobile antivirus. Keep your applications updated. If you go to a place where countries control all the signals in and out, like the Great Firewall of China, and Russia has laws called SORM 1, 2, and 3, you are in their cyber house. They can see what you're doing half the time. So use a throwaway phone, a throwaway device, and don't bring a device with really expensive or important stuff there, because they can get to it. Use good authentication, and there's also techniques where someone can just drop a hard drive in the parking lot. The University of Illinois did a test several years ago, and they dropped a whole bunch of these on campus, and at least 50% of them were taken by people and plugged into something. So it does happen. Use WPA2 for your Wi-Fi protected access. And if you go to China, Russia, don't leave those devices in a hotel room. I can't emphasize this enough, and there's a reason why I say this. Call us. Why? We all look like this. We're already paid for by your tax dollars. We are public servants. We have enforcement authority where we can go after them so they don't keep attacking again and again. Let us be your force multiplier. We understand that partnerships are the key. At the end of the day, you're protecting your cyber house, but we are there to help state, local, and federal law enforcement. Let us help you. But also take those sensible and reasonable precautions to protect your cyber house. Don't let the hackers win. And thank you very much. I appreciate the time, and I appreciate the courtesy of the Oconomowoc Chamber of Commerce and their very gifted employees.
Thank you so very much, Agent Franz. This was incredibly beneficial. We've been monitoring chat, and it doesn't seem as though there are questions that have been coming in, but I do have one quick question for you, and that is, for someone like myself who's not all that technically savvy, can I hire a service, let's say I'm a small business owner, that can do everything that you suggested? Just have someone come in, evaluate my programs, my systems, put the right security measures in place, maybe even do some monitoring. Is there kind of a one-stop shop that you?
Yeah, there are. I mean, there are IT professionals, administrators here in Oconomowoc and throughout Wisconsin. You just have to look for them. I'd go online and start by looking locally, because you want to have, I mean, obviously you want to look at what ratings are of the individuals are. You can check how happy people are with their services, but you want to go local. You want to go as quickly as, make sure that somebody can come and come to your beck and call quickly. There are regional and national services out there. Mandiant is a cleanup firm for big companies that got hacked, but you want to have your local Mandiant. You want to have a local IT professional service come in and make recommendations to your service and make sure everything's updated if you can afford it. Some people can't, and they have to do it themselves. But if you can, prevention is always going to cost many, many times less than remediation and mitigation. When having to send all those, get a lawyer involved and all this stuff if you got hit. So worrying about HIPAA and all this other stuff. So make sure you invest in a local IT professional or regional one.
That makes sense. I know you mentioned cybersecurity insurance, but I just think about it in terms of an insurance policy in general, right? We spend thousands of dollars to protect our home, but we don't remotely pay close to what if there was a disaster and the home burned down and there's $500,000. Now, how do you handle that? So it really is a good insurance policy, if you will, by spending the money up front and only a fraction of what it would be if something disastrous happened. So thank you again very much for this information. I'm sure we could spend a full day with you here. This really is time to wrap things up, and we're so very grateful for all of you for participating today. And we had a couple technical difficulties, but we are working through that. We also are expecting to be able to offer a number of different virtual presentations being sponsored by the Business Education Committee coming forward over the next couple of months. We've decided to really center on a couple of topics that tend to be overlooked during times like this. And we're really going to be focused on health and wellness for our businesses and for their employees. We have a number of esteemed speakers coming from, for example, from Rogers Memorial Hospital. We have doctors who are going to be talking about the wellness of employees during these really challenging and unusual times, what employers can do and the services and tools and resources that can be offered. We have someone who's a dietitian who has quite an incredible story, who's going to be talking to us about what we do during times of stress, and most often many individuals will turn to maybe some bad habits. So again, not just for us personally, but what we can share with the employees on our teams. And then we also have CrossFit Rokius, who's going to be talking about a balance of health and nutrition as well. So we're really looking forward to delivering these presentations. And as I mentioned, as we get a little bit closer, we're fine-tuning some of the technical challenges that we have with these virtual presentations, because let's face it, I think they're here to stay for a while. So let's all get comfortable with it, and we're looking forward to delivering that way. I do have two last very special announcements to be able to make. And one is I want to reference the fact that we are going to be sponsoring our annual golf outing. It was something that had been delayed because of these, again, times when we didn't know if we could bring people together, but it will be coming back by popular demand. So be sure to check out the Chamber's website for information associated with the golf outing. And then last but not least, I'm excited to promote our Yellow Brick Run, and that's going to be coming up in early October. And we have been partnering with a group, Silver Streak Sports, and this organization is doing a tremendous job of making sure that we can actually socially distance through the race. There's going to be waves of individuals that will be starting based on the times that they anticipate they'll be completing the run. And we're really excited to be able to bring back some commemorative medals that are going to be, again, awarded to every participant who signs up. We do have somewhat of a limited supply, so make sure to sign up early. And I'm here to share with you a preview of what this medal looks like. So Agent Franz, we'd love to have you participate, and you too can have one of these if you join in this Yellow Brick Run. And the other important thing to keep in mind with that is if you're not comfortable doing this in person, you can do this virtually as well. So you can track your distance and your time, and you can also participate that way, but still be part of a group effort, even though you're not running with others. So I went through that pretty quickly because I know our time has expired, but I want to thank all of you for participating today. We look forward to being with you again virtually as we get through the course this year, and hopefully next year when we do have to add a number to our age, because that will be a real year for all of us, we can get back to some normalcy. So thank you again. Thank you, Agent Franz. And for the rest of the Chamber staff, the engine behind it, Sherry and Chris do an incredible job. So I also want to mention them. And of course, we've got Kevin Brendel, who is always here supporting us as well. Have a great rest of the day, everyone.